In this lesson, we'll cover greater than and less than equations with regular objects in 3D Studio Max. For this exercise, we want to drive the z position of the teapot with the z position of the sphere or the box, depending upon which is higher. To do this, we'll need three objects, one for each attribute we want to evaluate, and one that will be position constrained to the items we're evaluating, and two XPose transform helpers. First, we'll create an object and position constrain it to both the sphere and the box. I'll use point helpers for my objects again. Select the helper, then go up to the animation menu, Constraints, Position Constraint, left-click the sphere, and the helper pops over to the sphere. To add the box as a second target, we have to go to the Motion tab, push Add Position Target, and select the box. Now the helper is constrained to both the sphere and the box. We don't need to do anything else for this helper right now. Moving on, we'll create the two objects that represent our attributes. This part is exactly the same as subtraction in a previous lesson. We'll wire the position z of the sphere and the box into the z position of the helpers. We'll link one helper to another and rotate the first helper upside down 180 degrees. Here we see our equation working. If you notice, no matter where I move the sphere and box, the last helper stays above 0 if the sphere is higher, and below 0 if the box is higher. We'll create our first XPose transform helper, and expose the last helper's transforms. This time we won't directly connect the world position z to anything. Instead, we'll be running a reaction with it. Open the Reaction Manager, left-click Add Master, and select the XPose transform helper. Need to find world position z. We needed to drive the position constraints of this helper. Left-click on Add Slave, select the helper, and find position weight 0. And again for position weight 1. We need two states with both slaves in each, so I'll delete the default states. We'll go into Create mode, and we'll make two states and just edit them in here. We want the helper to follow the higher object without any slow in or slow out. So we'll need to put the states as close to 0 as possible. 0.001 and negative 0.001. We want the sphere in control when the z position is above 0, so we'll change these attributes to 100 for the sphere and 0 for the box. And we want the box in control when the z position is below 0, so we'll change these values to 0 for the sphere and 100 for the box. We're almost done. We just need to plug this helper's z position into the teapot z position. Unfortunately, whenever an object has a constraint on it, wiring doesn't seem to work. To get around that, we'll use a second XPose transforms helper to get the constrained helper's local position z. I'll quickly do that. Now connect the local position Z to the Z position of the teapot. We're done. The teapot now follows the sphere or the box, depending upon which object is higher. To change this equation to less than and get the teapot following the lower item, we just need to switch the values in the reaction manager. Now the teapot follows whichever item is lower. This concludes greater than and less than equations with regular objects in 3D Studio Max.